by Edgar Allan Poe. Gaily bedight, a gallant knight, in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. And he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land called El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride, boldly ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. I memorized that when I was like 15, because however many words it has was the exact minimum of words that a poem had to have that I was required to memorize in whatever class I was supposed to memorize it in. Which I could have memorized a poem twice as long just as easily. I'm very good at memorizing things. But it was a statement that I could find a poem that had the exact number of words that was required to memorize it. And it happened to be that poem by Edgar Allan Poe. And I never understood it until recently, and I probably still don't. But, anyways, there you go. And this has been Poetry Time with Shane. Here's the thing. The people on this don't know what just happened. That's hilarious. I love that. Welcome. Here we are. We've never started a podcast at the beginning of the podcast when we started talking. Have we ever done that? Q, what are your thoughts?
We haven't done that, but we already been talking for about 5-10 minutes.
Longer than that, really.
Yeah. Really. So, but to your point, we are kind of coming in once we're actually speaking into the mic. We're recording.
But at the same time, it's still in the middle of a conversation. It just happened that we started recording during a natural lull in a conversation, which real conversations have natural lulls. Every now and then you kind of look at each other like, all right, what are we talking about? We're done with that. And that happened to be one. That one happened to be sparked by me citing a poem. Everybody else in the room just got real silent like, all right, moving on. Don't do that shit again.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Wow.
I'm going to memorize the Raven.
The Raven. That's a long poem. You say it's a poem, that's like a damn story.
Yeah,
when do you separate poem from story?
I don't know, because poetry doesn't even rhyme anymore. I heard somebody recite a poem the other day. I can't even remember the name of it. Thank you, Robert Frost. Thank you, Mr. Frost, or something like that. And it wasn't even a poem. It was just a quote by Robert Frost that the guy put a preamble and postamble on, and he did kind of amble too, as a matter of fact. I'm like, this is not a poem. Robert Frost would have told you to pound sand. I don't know. I don't get it. But you know what? If you say it's poetry, all right, it's poetry then. It's like spoken word poetry. I don't know if that's traditional classical poetry, but it's cool. So, poetry with Vendor Chronicles with a special guest. Q is the introduction specialist. Let me just do that.
All right, y'all, ladies and gentlemen. Uh-oh. Hold on, you got my cord, Shane. You got my cord.
Oh, snap.
All right. Without further ado, hey, backed by customer demand, listener demand. My wife was so upset with me that we didn't have that first episode that we did with Ardie Dean. There it is, cat's out the bag.
Hello, citizen.
Ardie Dean, a thrice-time Hall of Famer. Thrice. Uno, dos, tres. Hall of Famer. Drummer.
Oh, shit.
Extraordinaire. Wow. Child prodigy.
Legend in his time, but not in his mind.
You heard it here. Vendor Chronicles. Ardie Dean. Let's give him a round of applause. Welcome back, Ardie.
Shut up.
Man, I've been knowing Ardie for about 5 years now since I've been working at the camp.
That's true.
And Ardie, he always shouted me out. Never, without fail.
Yep.
I can't even tell you how much money probably Ardie done made me.
I hope so.
I'm glad I don't know the number because I might have to pay him. So He done made me like $10. I got 10%. I give you 10%,
No.
Ardie.
You forgot how much free product you given me.
That is true too.
Yeah.
Hey. And I'll continue to whenever you come to my truck.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you just say the word. How many people you got on stage today? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Gotcha. I'm gonna turn the mic back over to you, Shane. You got anything you want to add?
Not really. Back to you. No, I'm just kidding. Ardie, man, it's good to have you back. We were very disappointed that I still hate that we lost that audio because it'd be fun to do a comparison. You know what I'm saying?
I'm pissed.
Well,
Heavy is the head that wears a crown.
heavy is the head that wears a
Kevin
crown.
gotta take that one. Kevin, the boss
Wow.
man. The boss man.
Kevin, the boss man, Rich.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what we haven't done is a proper intro, I suppose. We introed our guest.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
I usually do the intro around here.
Go.
Coming to you now from that 86 Kid Studio, deep underground, beautiful downtown Huntsville, Alabama. Here with my co-host, Q the Messenger, and our illustrious producer, Kevin, the boss man, Richardson. And here with our special guest, Ardie Dean, I am Shane the Brain, and this is Vendor Chronicles. Let's go.
Let's go.
Ardie, it's great to have you back.
Thanks, bud.
This is kind of our underground lair.
I love it.
We've come to feel very comfortable here. Shout out that 86 Kid Studio. There is a great vibe here, that's for sure. So what you been up to, brother? You've been a busy guy.
Oh, man. I got to tell you what happened.
All right.
This is interesting. I get an email from a young man. He said he's 16 years old. He said he wanted to send me a picture of the first album I ever played on. Now, I was 14 years old, and we only made 300 copies of this LP. The advertisement was for it for sale, and the price on it was $1,700. I go, what? I didn't get a nickel off of this. What's going on here?
$1,700.
$1,700 for sale right now on the internet.
What was the name of the album?
Shadrach was the name of the band. I wasn't in the band, but I did play on that album. The guys that were in the band knew me, and they were making the songs. Hey, Ardie, come in, play some drums. Okay, yeah, no, do you know? So I go in and do some songs, and made this little recording, and they made it an LP, and they printed just 300 of them. So let's fast forward to 2012. I'm in Switzerland, and we're doing a big festival there. And between shows, I had like an hour to burn. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to walk down the street and just look around and then come back and, So I'm walking down the street. I see up in the sign, there's a record shop. I go, wait a minute, cool. So I go in there, it's vinyl records, right? I'm flipping through it, Foghat and Fleetwood Mac and Jeff Beck and the Beatles and Shadrach. I go, wait a minute, what in the hell is this doing in here? I pulled it out, and there's a picture of me on the record. I'm holding it up, showing it to the guy that runs the store, and I'm pointing at me and pointing at the record, and he didn't speak English. He's like, whoa, what the fuck is this guy doing? And I go, anyway, make a long story longer, I looked at the prices of the albums, and they're generally, they were used LPs. They're like 6 and 7 euros, normal, maybe 9. I got to that Shadrach, and it was 60 euros. Now, that was in 2012. And I was holding it up, and all he could say was, very rare, very rare. And I go, well, yeah, we only made 300 of them. Make it even a long story longer. I just told my buddies about it, and they thought that was kind of a cool story. And then later, I got back to the United States, and I got an email from Belgium. And it's a guy that's trying to track down the people that were in this band, Shadrach. Now, I know those guys. I still know them. And I says, well, yeah, I know some of them. And he says, well, we're looking for Steve Fox. Steve Fox was the guy that produced it, wrote it. It was his record. And he owned the studio. It was just Steve's, it's his deal. Steve dropped out of sight years ago. Nobody knows where he's at. He was like this mystery guy. We didn't know where he was. Even his best friends didn't know where he was. And that fueled this myth of this record. Wow. The guy that was the guy is just nowhere to be found. Anyway, so there's been this cult to follow this group around, and it was just, we were 14 years old. It wasn't meant to be a serious, endeavor, but it somehow made its way to Europe and somehow developed this following. And currently today, that record is at $1,700.
Do you own a copy?
I do.
Okay.
I do have one.
Wow.
But I got a spoiler alert.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
It's a shitty record. We were 14. Come on, man. What do you expect?
Wow. That's incredible. Shadrach.
So I can add more to it.
Please.
It became such a cult classic that they started making copies of it.
Counterfeiters.
Yes. So the one that he showed me has a little description. He said, this is an original with the orange label. If you see one with a blue label, that is the counterfeit. I mean, yeah, it's like people are aware of this counterfeit.
That's wild.
So let me backtrack then.
You know you're famous when you've been counterfeited. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole nother level. Like, there may be a lot of people that know who such and so, but if you've been counterfeited, wow.
That's they spoof us, like counterfeit us.
Oh, I wonder what they'll do. They switch our races. They put our voices in the other person's head.
That would be cool.
It'll confuse the hell out of people.
You know you made it when you've been counterfeited.
Yeah, that's big time. So, have you seen one of the counterfeits?
No, I have not. It's in Europe.
Okay,
that's where
sure.
it's a phenomenon.
Gotcha.
Nobody in the United States even they don't even know what it is.
Hey, listen, foreign musical tastes are very different a lot of times.
Yeah, true.
David Hasselhoff is still huge in Germany.
He
Right?
is.
Is it Germany?
Yeah.
Knight Rider.
Yeah, but he was a musician also. He made more money in Germany off of his music and his albums than he ever did for Knight Rider and Baywatch and all that stuff. Yeah, he made multi-gazillions in Germany off of his singing, and it sucks, dude. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's the worst. You know what's the only thing worse than it is William Shatner's albums. That's
William Shatner.
Dude, you got to look up William Shatner. He's Mr. Producer Man, have you ever listened to William Shatner's quote-unquote music? Ardie, Mr. Dean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about,
It's
right?
funny.
It's funny for a minute. It's William Shatner just reciting different lyrics to some soft music in the background, but it's just William Shatner. I'm trying to think of a song. Let me think. Give me a song that I would know, that I know the lyrics to. What if it was Edgar Allan Poe? I don't know much, but I know I love you, and that may be all there is to know. He makes millions off of this stuff. Million. It's on Spotify with like a ton of hits. If you look it up on YouTube, it'd be like 10 million hits or whatever per video. It's hilarious, and it's the worst. It's the worst. It'd be like somebody putting one Weird Al Yankovic song on loop and playing it at a party. That's the one thing you want. Another one, Rides the Bus. With that little, goofy thing he plays. Not goofy. What is it called? An accordion? I don't know. Anyways, that's a rabbit hole. What are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about and celebrate the life and times of Ardie Dean. The man, the legend. Is there more to that story?
Oh, yeah. It's a whole thing.
Make a long story longer.
Yeah.
Well, let's make it longer.
So when the quest to find this mysterious Steve Fox guy, I went into overdrive because I knew that this record was, selling and they're counterfeits. And I'm thinking, Steve needs to know about this. I did a whole bunch of digging. People that he grew up with didn't know where he was. His family's all dead. He had a brother that's in prison. He died, and his mom died. So that's the only two people I knew he had for a family. And went to Des Moines, Iowa, And I was at my brother's shop, and a guy walked in, and he's an old buddy from school, and we called him Newbie. Can't remember his real name. Newbie, what are you doing? Oh, man, I live in State Center. I go, oh, in there. Yeah, okay, never been there. It's in Iowa. He goes, I know Steve Fox. I go, what? Yeah, I talked to him the other day. I said, you're shitting me. So I got a hold of Steve Fox through Newbie. I called him up. Steve, you ain't going to believe this, man. I was just in Switzerland. I saw the Shadrach record for 5 times more than any other album. I mean, there's a thing going on. And he had already heard that it had been counterfeited. Now, he didn't want to have any publicity. He didn't want to talk to any of these. I called back to Belgium, my people. I says, listen, I found Steve Fox, but he doesn't want to talk to y'all. He just doesn't want to talk to y'all. I don't know why. He just doesn't want to. He's a recluse. He's just a recluse. That's his life. And they were bummed. And I says, listen, here's what we'll do. I'll take a tape recorder over to his house, sneak it under my jacket, and let's see if I have any luck, So I go over there. First thing Steve says, hey, Ardie, I got some really good reefer back. You want to fire it up with me? I'm going to go, oh, shit, here we go. Here we go. I says, Steve, man, I put the pipe down, brother. I just can't hang anymore, back in the day maybe, but no more. Mm-hmm. So he went ahead and lit up a gigantic spleef. And I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be good. So I turned on the tape recorder. Nothing. I got nothing. He wouldn't talk about the band. He wouldn't talk about story. All he talked about was that daggum reefer he was smoking. No.
That's tough.
It was tough. I don't know. But anyway, I tried. But then he died. Yeah. That's life. So it's gone. But the record's still out there. It still has an aura about it. And if the band would reunite, they could probably tour Europe and make a killing. But anyway.
Funny, for every hugely successful band, how many think, there's probably at least 1,000 other bands that never made it.
Yeah.
Didn't even make, because you either become very successful or you don't really make a living at it. Am I right?
Well, there's an in-between. Some people make a living, I did. 30, 40 years as a professional drummer. I didn't. I was homeless for a minute, but
I mean, well, yeah, me too.
paid some dues, And
so before we get too far into this, tell us where you are now. Obviously, we know you best from the camp.
Yeah.
At the market at Mid-City, the founder and drummer and all-around extraordinaire of the camp counselors.
Yeah, and I'm enjoying that because it's 5 minutes from my home.
Nice.
Charlie Watts, he would do that. He played in the Rolling Stones, but he really liked to go down the street and play at the jazz club, drag his drums down there by himself, load them in, tear them up, set them up, tear them down, drive home. I mean, just like me. But yet he'll do the Rolling Stones tour, but then this is what he likes to do. And I'm kind of in that same situation. I really like playing at the camp just because it's so convenient and fun. We're just having a great time there.
There's a cool vibe down there. There is a cool vibe.
The guys I got down there was a group that I assembled specifically for this job. 2 years before they built the camp, they approached me and said, Ardie, we're building this place. We want you to play there, and here's the situation, and we want you to be a part of it. I said, cool. So I had time to prepare mentally, like, what would I like to have happen after they told me about the venue and what, everything about it. And I says, you know what? I'm going to put a group together and get it ready for this. So I booked the shittiest dive bar I could find in Huntsville, Alabama, smoking loud, and it was, dive bar, and won't mention any names. And we put the band in there and just played every week to get the band rocking. And I told them, this is the style of music we'll have to play at the camp. It's got to be super commercial style. We can play blues. They don't care, but we need to keep the audience happy, and it's going to be a very mixed crowd. Old, young, yellow, black, and white. Everybody's going to be there. It's just a whole mixed bag. So we formed our set list around, pleasing a wide range of people. And even though technically we're all blues nuts, we all love playing the blues. However, Fred and Ethel ain't going to sit and listen to Stormy Monday all night. They want to hear, Elton John or whatever. So we just started mixing it up and we started playing it. And after a year of doing that, then I got the call. Hey, the camp's open. Let's do it. Boom. We were in. I was all ready. I was all prepared. I had the band ready. I had them all in line. And that was 7 years ago. We've been there ever since.
Wow. Shout out those guys for us one time.
Oh, the band?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, Bobcat Jackson is on rhythm guitar, who owns the recording studio where we like to go down and cut tracks. And then T-Bone Dupree plays bass. He's straight out of the church. He's just soulful as you can get. And then we got Eric Rhodes on lead guitar, who is phenomenal. The guy is underrated. He really is. He brings out a guitar that has no frets. Nobody can. Clapton can't play that thing, but wow. Eric rocks it. And it's practically impossible to play a guitar with no frets. He's mastered it, and it's good. He's really, really talented. And he has to do most of the singing. He's the main singer in our band. And then we have Patrick Jamal on bass, on keyboards, who is a very busy guy. He's like in 20 different bands, and he plays in 3 different churches, and he's very in demand. But he comes and plays with us every Sunday. And when he can't play with us, because he does go on the road too, we'll get Joe Canada, another really great singing, great playing keyboard player. And that is the core of the Camp Counselors. We always like to invite people to come up and sit in. We always invite people that want to sing to come and join us. No matter how good or bad or ugly they are, get up there and we will have a good time. And especially the person that's singing, they would just have a blast. And it's all fun. That's why the audience likes it. The staff likes it because we're just having a good time with the audience. And it's working. We just enjoy it. We make sure that audience has a good time. We will do whatever it freaking takes. I mean, dude. So that's what I appreciate about the group.
I agree with that, and it's always a jam session up there. It's fun to watch you guys play, and it's always different, even though sometimes the set list starts out the same. It never ends the same. And
well, we always start with requests. Hey, What do you want to hear? Let's just start right there. What do you want? We will wait until one of y'all says something to play. One night, and it wasn't too long ago, we started that way. What do you want to hear? Oh, Black Sabbath. We'll do that. And then, okay, next song. What do you want to play? Led Zeppelin. Okay, we did that. We did the whole day.
What do you play by Sabbath?
Iron Man? Was it? No. Oh, crap. I was 14 when I played that.
I'm a Sabbath fan. I'm just curious.
Yeah,
That's
no.
Ozzy, right? Ozzy
Yeah,
Osbourne.
Black Sabbath, yeah.
Oh, was it Ozzy?
Crazy Train?
It might have been. Well, it's one of the songs Eric knows.
It started out with another lead singer. Then Ozzy came in like after the first album, maybe. I'm not real sure. I don't know the history. But yeah, that's where Ozzy got his start. And then he was too crazy. He was doing too many drugs and, different things. And he got kicked out of the band just for living a lifestyle that they couldn't handle it. If you listen to Black Sabbath music, it's heavy. But it's heavy. I think it's drop tuned, is it not? I don't want to talk out of my ass, but it's tuned in a lower. It's tuned lower. Is it not tuned lower than normal? Like King's X drops their tuning down, for instance, so that it starts out lower. I don't know. I'm not a musician at all, so whatever it is, it sounds all heavy. But then you read the lyrics, and it's really about peace and love and happiness. And don't be, they do a song called "War Pigs." That's like, hey, politicians, y'all let everybody else die in the wars. Quit it or whatever. It really was kind of flower power music, just set to really heavy music. So, I don't know. What do you think, Ardie?
I don't think.
I disagree with that.
No, I wasn't. Like I was saying earlier, I was a Sabbath fan when it came out. I liked their first album. We played some of the songs, and then the second album, we played some of the songs. And then, no, they went weird.
Really?
And then, yeah, even though, they're legendary and everything, but you got to remember, we were teenagers when it came out. I mean, young teenagers, and that hit the spot, man.
Sure,
It's just heavy, hard, and kicking and kicking and kicking, and then it just got a little weirder and weirder, and I don't know. Then,
okay. I still like it.
All right, Ardie, with you being a artists, and we're talking about weirder. Do artists seem to get weirder the more fame they get?
No,
or do they typically stay the same?
Not all of them, but fame is a fickle bitch.
Mhm.
Some people, many were too young to handle it, and it affects your psyche in a way that you got to be mentally prepared to handle it. Even though it sounds fun and games, you've seen many people that just miserable, even though they're famous as all get out. You know what I'm saying? So fame is a hard. I'm not a fan. Now, all the very famous people that I've ever met, never treated them as such. I always treated them either as an equal or you're just there. You know, Robert Plant's just sitting there. I'm not going to bother him. He's just he's sitting right there. He's just a normal person, you know. And that helps. When you treat somebody that's been adored and worshipped and just talk to them like a normal human being for a change.
So they looking for that.
Yes.
Someone just treat me like a normal person.
Yes. Believe me.
Not sign an autograph or whatever.
No.
You asking me, just treat
I've
me like
never
a
asked for an
normal
autograph ever.
person.
And won't speak to somebody unless, I'm spoken to or it's necessary that, some information has to transpire. But, I've learned that early on because I did work with some big names and you learn quick. You don't do this as soon as you see them. You know what I'm saying? You don't bow down right away. Because then they'll treat you like you're just another one of them.
Treat you like
you're just
another
one of them.
groupie.
You ain't one of us. You're one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
who's the famous person you worked with?
I don't know. I liked playing with Bo Diddley, and he's well named.
I never heard that name. Yeah, I never heard of Bo Diddley.
Yeah. Well, he
what type of music?
He invented it. He played so many great hit records that people copied him forever. Bo Diddley, the Stones and everybody copied him, worshipped him. He was a guitar player out of Chicago on Chess Records, just like Chuck Berry and all them.
Okay.
And he invented the Bo Diddley beat, which was doom do 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 doom 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 do 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 doom doom. They call that the Bo Diddley beat. He invented. Well, he didn't invent it. He borrowed it from Africa. But anyway, Pay Bo Diddley was a great song.
Bo Diddley, I'm about to go look him up.
Microwave Dave does it.
Bo Diddley.
Oh yeah, legendary.
Microwave Dave is a local here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never seen him or heard him play. Microwave Dave.
But I play with a lot of them. I can't even think of all of them you want to hear about. Looking Greg Allman with the Allman Brothers, played with him.
I do like the Allman Brothers.
Toured with Taj Mahal for many years.
Okay.
He was, some of the people I would like to mention that you haven't heard of, but to me were like the pinnacles, like Bobby Keys. I played with him. I recorded with him, made some records. He was a sax player with the Stones till he died for 30, 40 years. He was a regular Stone member. Charlie Sexton, I played with him. He plays with Bob Dylan. Jim Horn. Jim Horn played with the Beatles, Elvis. All of the Beatles solo records, the Beach Boys, Frank Sinatra. I could keep going. That level of player, Jim Horn. Yeah, you look him up. Anyway, Jay Spell played keyboards with Ronnie Millsap. Of course, he grew up with Ronnie. They're both blind. But Jay became a great keyboard player. He played with Canned Heat. He was in Jimmy Buffett's band for many years. He was John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. I could keep going. He made so many great records with Tammy Wynette, Randy Travis, all the great country guys he played. He played on all of Ronnie Millsap's records. I could keep going. He just had so many great peaks in his career. And he was a dear friend. I lived next door to him in an apartment complex in Nashville, and so I was his eyes. He would invite me over, hey, Ardie, I need your eyes. And I'd go into his apartment and look for something for him. And we just became really close. One day he calls me, Ardie, come over here. Yeah. Hey, come over here. I got somebody coming over. I want you to meet. And I'd known Jay for maybe 2 years, and I was just his neighbor. I was his eyes. I wasn't anything else. I knew he played, but he didn't play the kind. I played blues, and I don't. He played country. So we didn't talk music a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We were just friends. And the door knocks. I open up, and it's freaking Ronnie Millsap. Now, this was at the time when Lost in the 50s was number one on the pop charts, on the country charts, and the crossover charts. I mean, Ronnie was sailing, and all of a sudden, he's standing at the door. Now, and Ronnie can't see me. He's blind, too. I'm going, holy shit, Jay. Oh, yeah, come on in. And they grew up together. So now I'm just a fly on the wall. I don't exist anymore, but I'm watching them talk and listen, and oh, man. It was so cool. Ronnie had a recording box, really. And it had like gigantic VCR sized tape, and they would go in Jay's record collection and tape songs onto this tape. So Ronnie had something to review for their next album because he had to follow up Lost in the 50s, which was a huge hit, and he had to come up with a follow up. Mm-hmm. So when that recording session came about, they invited me to just sit in the corner.
Just to sit in.
Don't say nothing. Mm-hmm. Just look and listen. Man, the top shelf of every Nashville player was there. Larry London was on drum. He was a legendary drummer, played with every great that ever was. And Ronnie's at the board. And Jay's playing keyboards too, both of them. This is the A-team of the A-team. And they were cutting songs, and I'm just listening and then being a quiet church mouse because Ronnie doesn't even know I'm in there. He can't see me, and I'm far enough away he can't smell me. So I'm just sitting there, soaking it all in. And all of a sudden, he cuts a song called Teardrops on My Pillow. And I'm listening, I'm going, that's it. That's the hit. That is a monster. Because Ronnie, he is a singer's singer. By the way, he's an R&B singer. His first record he ever put out in New York, not even country, was not even close. This shit was R&B. He had big horn section, Hammond B3. It was soul music, kicking, rocking hard. That was Ronnie's heart. But the money, and people in Nashville said, hey, Ronnie, you're a pretty good singer. You want to make some money? Let's sing this country shit. Okay. And he did. He made a fortune. But backstory to the studio. I'm sitting in the corner. He cuts that record. I'm thinking, there it is. He made it. He got a song as good as Lost in the 50s. Well, when the record come out, the album, it wasn't on it. I go, what? That was the best track on that recording session. What happened? And I didn't see Ronnie till years later. He was doing a show in Tennessee, and I got to go, and I went backstage, and I said, Ronnie, he said, oh, Ardie, guess what? I just put out my best record. It's called 50 Years. He said it was his pinnacle of his career, this new record he just put out. And I said, but Ronnie, Teardrops on My Pillow, dude, you killed it in the studio. I was there. And he goes, that song I've been saving for this record. I go, okay, now I get it. It was so good. He wanted to save it. He didn't want to put it out. He wanted to save it for when the time was right. I thought, man, that was brilliant. That was super cool. But anyway, Ronnie is a great guy and just a monster of a singer, very underrated. I mean, his vocal chops at range, I mean, it's just.
Think about the level of confidence it takes. You just came out with like a number one hit single.
Yeah.
And then you got to follow that up with the next record. And there was a song in the recording session of that next record that was so good that it was too good to put up on the follow-up for your greatest hit ever so far.
Yeah.
And then also the confidence to put out the record without that, knowing it was still going to be a good follow-up to a number one record. Yeah. I don't know if that's just balls or ingenious you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Some folks can set themselves apart. 50 Cent. That record was pretty good. Yeah. It was pretty good, right?
Yeah, damn good.
I don't know if it was however much 50's worth now good of a record, because that's what, that was his number one record. So he's figured out a way to leverage himself to the point where he's making a lot more money off of other things than his music career. As a businessman, the intelligence behind that, and it sounds like the same kind of thing that Ronnie Millsap was doing, however many years ago this was. Just having I would have just been like, yeah, put it all out there. That's great. Hell yeah,
let's make a lot of money. Yeah.
But to have the long-term strategy to make a whole lot of money, that's a level beyond.
Well, Ronnie was looking to the future. He thought, my career, it's an arc. It always is. Everybody's is. It kind of does a thing, Some guys, and then die, up there. But, and Ronnie was thinking, okay, I'm up here, but one day I'm going to be out here. I'm going to have that song in my pocket for that time,
They say when Prince died, he had like 2,000 songs done, ready to be released at any time. He could have, I want to know where those songs are. Why are they not being?
His family probably, and they're probably not music, gurus. So
I guess, but I mean, come on, I want to hear some of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's probably going to be weird. Probably a lot of it's really weird.
It's the same thing with Hendrix. He had hundreds of songs. He stayed in the studio constantly and recorded the whole time. So his family's sitting on a mountain of stuff that nobody's heard. Still do. They're thinking like Ronnie. It's kind of a long term. As long as Hendrix's name is still.
I guess that, yeah. As long as you can come out with something, new music by Hendrix? Of course I'm listening. But how long's it been?
50 years? I don't know. Wow. By the way, that's kind of
like it's time.
Curious thought right now. We're enjoying and talking about music from, 30, 40, 50 years ago. Back in 1960, did anybody listen to music from the 30s? No, and that was just, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, there was most definitely a time period in the American zeitgeist that was conducive to creativity. Is that a good way to put that?
Yeah.
Because you saw, correct. You saw, well, I mean, it was the first time that the young people had time and money for leisure. They didn't have to help their parents on the farm. They weren't babysitting. They didn't necessarily need money, and their parents probably gave them an allowance, or they probably had a part-time job where they could afford to buy records and things, and money fuels create, without money coming in, the creatives can't create. So you saw movies, you saw music, you saw comedy, just every creative genre, I think.
That's still happening. People still have creative, but yet we're still talking about music music is still remembered, let's put it that way.
For sure.
That is that dated, and the money thing's still there. Younger people like new artists, and that's supposed to happen. The young generation has their own style. That's their thing.
But music from that era most definitely holds up. Eminem has sampled, in his latest album, he sampled the Steve Miller Band.
See? Well,
from like early 80s, Take the Money and Run, or whichever album it was, I can't remember.
See, that's lazy as shit. That's lazy shit sampling. What a bunch of bullshit. Can't come up with your own thing. Come on now. Just steal it from somebody.
I don't know, Ardie. I think it's just too good not to sample.
Well, you got a point there.
And it's been long enough to where you sample it, people that's
never heard it,
younger than 30, they think it's brand new.
You're right.
I'll be riding down the road with my son. He was like, "Oh man, you heard this new song?"
That's Stevie Wonder.
Yeah, that's Stevie. They just sampled it. They stole the whole song.
Okay, I got your point, Q. You got a point there. You're right.
Steve Miller took out a full-page ad thanking Eminem for sampling his song and how much he
respected
Eminem as an artist. And he certainly got paid. But that's another thing. Okay, Steve Miller deserves to get paid again, and thanks to Eminem, so
okay.
I hear you on the sampling thing. I've thought that too.
Well,
but there
as
are
an
two
artist,
sides to that street, yeah.
As an artist, it's kind of, even though, as long as you get paid, it's
yeah, as long as you do it right and don't steal something from somebody else, like I don't know, say Vanilla Ice.
But now we got AI doing it. Now they're creating shit that sort of sounds like it, but it really ain't.
Yeah, that's. What are your thoughts, man? As an artist, I can't think I know.
Well, I had to give a lecture in Tasmania. This was in 2016, so this is prior to hardcore what we got going on, like Spotify and all that, but Facebook, none of that was hardly happening.
But just barely before.
Yeah.
Right on the cusp.
It was. Everybody saw it coming. So they wanted me to speak about it at a college. I go, holy shit. So I get up in front of the kids, and they're all music kids, So listen, kids, here's the deal. I know you're into music, but you're going to have to do a double path here. You're going to have to get this internet thing down, this technology shit together, along with your music now, because it's going to be hand in hand here. You got to master both of these now.
But if you do that, then you have your own path to take to monetize your music. You know, I think a lot of times there's probably been, for every Jimi Hendrix, I bet you there's another dude out there just as good that
Playing in a bar.
You know,
yeah.
But Bob Marley and his band, they were not the band that the record company was
right.
Going to see that night.
You're right.
They were coming to see the other band had a car wreck or something like that, and Bob Marley and his boys filled in, and it was Bob Marley.
Yeah,
We may not even know that name. Had that accident, you know the story better than I do?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I know it intimately.
Please tell.
Our tour manager in Europe for many years was a guy named Sam Clayton. Sam Clayton's dad was in the Scotalites. You know who the Scotalites were?
No.
They were like the Wrecking Crew. You probably don't even know who that is. Or the Swampers. They were the house band that made all the records, right? I mean, every artist that came out of Jamaica has this one band. Right. It was the Scotalites. And that's where Sam grew up. So Bob was just one of the guys in the group to hang around with. You know, he was just part, you know. And Toots Maytall was like the king bad daddy. He was the king bad daddy. Bobby couldn't touch Toots, not with a stick. He couldn't touch him. So Toots was the guy who was supposed to get the love from the big island record guy. And there was a little kerfuffle at the last second where the island record guy was coming to town. He was going to sign this group, Toots and the Maytalls, right? And Bob finagled a slick trick to get his shit in front of the guy before Toots' shit got in front of him. And Bob got the deal. So it was a really finagling behind the scenes that made that happen.
So it wasn't just an accident. It was an end run.
Yes, it was. It was. Bob pulled a
Bob
fast
Marley
one.
And the Wailers.
Now, Toots isn't too pissed because Toots went on to great success. He's a monster. And Toots is, you know, he is still the king bad daddy, you know, amongst all the Jamaicans, you know, including Bob, you know, yes, you are the big bad daddy. So it's all good. But, yeah, that was a little bit of, there's a lot to that story. And I'm giving you a glossed over quick version.
I'm sure.
It's just way deeper than that. It goes way deep. But,
wow.
By the way, I got schooled on Jamaican music, riding around the van with Sam Clayton. Jeez. I would go home and I would find the most obscure 1962, you know, this is even before reggae was called reggae, and I'd put it on CD, and we'd get in the van over in France, and I'm, okay, Sam, who is this? Oh, that's Brother Joe. He wouldn't say the guy's real name. That's my Brother Joe.
He knew.
Yeah. Anyway, I regress. But no, Sam Clayton passed away, but God. Okay, let me tell you this. He was our sound man, okay? He did us because we play hardcore blues, and he loved the blues, but his regular gig was mixing sound for Paul McCartney, you know, that level of shit.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like we were his little pet project that he just loved hanging around us because all these old blues men from Mississippi and Alabama, he loved that. So we were his pet band, and he demanded that if we came to Europe, he wanted to be our tour guide. He spoke 5 languages. We go to France, he speak French. We go to Spain, he speaks Spanish. We go to Belgium, he speaks that. Like, he knew all the traffic signs and all the different roads, and he knew every venue, and there wasn't a board he couldn't master, and them things would be as big as this room. There would be rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of knobs, and so I said, Sammy, I got a flash drive, man. Stick it in the board. I want a board recording tonight. Okay, I'm going to tell you right now. I'm mixing for the room. I ain't mixing for the recording. I could mix for the recording, but then the room would sound like shit. So you're just going to get what you're going to get. You ain't going to, yeah. So he was honest. You know, he's mixing for the room, not for me.
How did it sound?
Still good. Yeah.
Right.
Everything was there. I mean, you can hear, except for the audience, because they're not mic'd. So we'll do a song. You can hear the roar, but it's kind of back in the background. But no, Sam Clayton was a cool man. He was so deep into reggae music. You couldn't fool him. You couldn't fool him.
All right, so I'm going to change subject. Apropos of nothing. What's your favorite place that you've ever played geographically? It could be either like a country, if there's something that's really stood out, or maybe there's a little club somewhere that for some reason is, I don't know, what you got? Favorite place to play?
Well, I mentioned it a little earlier when I was in Tasmania. That was like a fantasy. Now
Did you see one of those Tasmanian devils? I
Of
know that's a
course,
real
of
animal.
course.
They got them all over the place over there.
Well, yeah, they're wild. They're like a raccoon or something. It's
okay.
they're wild, but
They don't spin around and go "Rah," or whatever, right?
no
Just kidding.
Tassies they call them.
Tassies,
and they're protected. They're protected.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
are. There's a awful virus that's getting them, and they're losing their population, and the locals are just freaking out because they're cool little animals. They are super cool. So yeah, I had to go visit them and talk to the people that take care of them. And
So,
yeah.
what about Tasmania? Was your favorite place to play?
well, we played at a botanical garden. Sounds like pretty mundane shit, right?
No, I love a botanical garden.
Well, but in Tasmania, there will be a plant with a leaf bigger than this room. I mean, it was like this dinosaur fantasy world. Trees that were 300 feet tall. I tried to take a picture. You can't. You see this thing just going into space. You can't see the top of it. I mean, it's magical the way the land is and the fauna and the water is different looking. It's just super cool. But my favorite venue would be also in Australia. Well, not Tasmania is south of Australia, and then Australia would be Byron Bay. It's a festival that they have every year. Byron Bay was a small fishing village, and it was very small, but it had really good soil for growing reefer, and all the growers would go there. Now, this was in the 70s, right? They would grow some really good pot there, and it kind of caught on. More people came, suppliers came, and then a couple stores came because there was starting to be a lot more growers there, and it became a little community now. It was no longer a fishing village. It was it's a reefer community, and so it grew. I mean, money's flowing, baby.
Byron Bay started on weed.
Yes. So
Is it legal there?
No. Maybe now, but certainly wasn't in the 70s. So
Okay.
So we go. So the growers every harvest would have a party, and
As one does.
yes, and each grower would have it at their house. It would be at this grower's house one year, and the next year at this house. Funny thing happened. Every year it just kept getting a little bigger. The parties did, and they started inviting several bands and. Pretty soon, it became a thing. It became like an event. People would go to the Byron Bay Festival. And I showed up. We did 12 in a row. Now, I got to back up because typically when a band plays a festival, the next year you don't go back because they want to bring in new bands for that year. We were lucky. They wanted us back 12 years in a row. So that was a great run. Anyway, make a long story longer. When we started, it had grown into a park in the little town, right? By then, it was starting to be a medium-sized town. In the 80s, the yuppies came in and put apartment buildings, and they smelled money, and they were, pumping money in to make more money. So it became, a medium-sized town. And then it became like a resort, so they were putting up really nice places to live. Anyway, so when we started, all that had happened, and we were playing in this park. And then the next year, it was at a soccer field, right? It was a little bigger. And then the next year we went, it was at the stadium that was gigantic and it was getting like huge. And the roster of entertainment, like Bob Dylan and just all the top of the top. I mean, these guys had money. Anyway, it just kept getting so big that the city says, we can't handle you no more. Our fire department can't handle it. Our water supply can't do it. I mean, we can't do it. It's too many people. So they bought a piece of land and then built a facility just for that event. and it had roads, it had lighting, it had everything. I mean, the stages were set up perfectly, strategically. Like the center was this giant, they call it the artist's tent, but it wasn't a tent. It was a giant building. And then from that building were walkways, catwalks, and you could go unnoticed to your stage from that. And there's like 15 stages by this point. And it was perfect. They had all the top of the line catering. For example, when I walk on stage, the stage is about 10 feet off the ground and I'm in back, okay? Right behind that stage is 8 massage tables laid out. Any band member that's walking on that stage can lay on that massage and get a full massage right before you walk on to the stage. So you get on the thing, and they rub you down really good, right? And you walk up on stage, and I felt like rubber. Holy shit, I can't play. But that's what level this is at. I mean, it's like, by the way, I'd asked Taj years before that. I was on the road with Taj. I asked him the same thing. Hey, Taj, you've played 1 billion gigs. Where's your favorite? Oh, Byron Bay. And I thought, okay. Well, when I went, I go, he's right. It is the best. But
wow.
Okay, let me just get it straight. It's a 4-day event. It's 250,000 people, and it's $400 to get in. So do the math. Holy shit. That's 250 Australian. I don't know what it is American. Or 400 Australian. But yeah, that is an organization.
I'm trying to do that math in my head. Let me think for a second.
But it went from a little party at a house.
Do it at $100.
$62,500,000.
That's why they can afford anybody they want. You know what I'm saying? And they do have anybody. Say what?
Probably, yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
VIP
Yeah.
stuff. Well, and if you add merch, your merch is probably going to equal your, if my math is right, 62.5. Oh, listen, you want me to blow your mind? So we just got accepted to a festival we've never been to. It's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Like the third weekend in July. It's called, forgot what it's called. But apparently 400,000 people are supposed to attend this over a 3-day period. It's huge. They have 1,000 vendors. A 10x10 booth is $1,200.
Jeez.
I don't know if the people are paying for tickets or not. No, I think entrance is free. But they're making $1.2 million just on vendor fees. 1,000 vendors at $1,200 a piece is $1.2 million. Just on vendor fees. Yep. I've been there. Yeah, I've been there before. My father would insist on a moment of silence when we drove by there because he was a big University of Michigan fan. We passed in the University of Michigan exit on the highway. Everybody, or the Ann Arbor exit, everybody has a moment of silence. We'd have to shut the hell up in the car for a second while he thought about his football team. It was silly. It was just a silly thing he did, just like a silly dad thing. Yeah. That was pretty funny. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm taking the family up there. We're going to load up. I still don't know what to call my van. I want to call it Black Betty, like the old song. Whoa, Black Betty. And then you know what? That's what I do. I would just write Ram a Jam on the back of it. Is it my mic?
Yeah, you talked to
It must be.
Give it to Q.
She ain't be moving too much.
See, it ain't cracking.
Yeah, it don't crack with me. Black don't crack, Ardie. I'll just go put it out there.
We got an episode called Black
Don't crack. So Ardie, let's take it to the beginning. Where are you from?
Well, I was born in Iowa, but I got to start with my dad because he was a race car driver. So he kind of traveled the circuit, right? And we kind of landed wherever he was racing. So we moved a lot. When I was a kid, when I was grown, my dad, give us a tour of, the houses we lived in. And we stopped at 25 different houses we lived in growing up.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, when Dad was racing, back in the 50s, the rule was if you could get the car to the track, you could race. In other words, there were no rules, right? If you got there, you raced. So who could ever soup their car up the best won. So Dad became a really good mechanic, and he souped that car up. And he was hanging with the best of them, but he wasn't winning every week. So he decided I'm gonna put an airplane engine in my car. He did. He put an airplane engine in the car. He put the propeller shaft to his drive shaft and fired it up, and it was in reverse. And he was going backwards 60 mile an hour. He luckily didn't kill himself. Anyway, he stopped it finally. He took the rear end and flipped it around, and now it'll go forward. So took it to the track, smoked everybody by a long shot. Kept doing that for several weeks. Nobody could touch him, right? So they banned him from racing. So he bought the track.
There it is.
And that's when I was born. I showed up when he had the racetrack. Now, that's how I grew up. I was around race cars, racers. You talk about musicians being hardcore? Oh, hell no. These are daredevils. They don't give a shit. What
kind of racing?
Dirt track then. Dirt track, baby.
Oval.
Yep. So
that's how NASCAR got started, essentially, right?
Yep.
On dirt.
Yep. So he ran that track up until I was about 12, 13, and then he bought a drag strip because that's when drag racing started getting real popular. And he promoted the shit out of that track and brought in the best of the greats, Don Gartlett's, the Snake and Mongoose, the famous cars, the backup pickup, Shirley Muldowney, TV Tommy Ivo, Sox and Martin. He had the Green Monster. That was a jet with a guy sitting in the front of it with a jet engine. Jesus.
Strapped to a jet.
Yes.
Did he ever put you behind the wheel?
I did not. I was into music even back then. I was the weird kid in the family that was there, and I was working at the track, but that wasn't my heart. My heart was music even then, and Dad encouraged that. Yeah, go Ardie, go play them drums, so go on. Anyway, so that's how I was raised. I was raised around.
And racing's a dangerous sport.
Oh shit! And those funny car
safety
drivers
wasn't what it is today.
Well, in the 70s it got serious. They had those funny cars. You were strapped in. They had roll bars. It was much different than the 50s. But those funny cars, those were hardcore guys. Man, I ain't kidding you. Because every night after the races, Dad would have the party in our basement. My basement was adjacent to my bedroom, so I'm 15. And I've got a full bar, fully stocked, pool table, pinball, jukebox, dance floor, partying going on all night. So I'd be in my little room, I'm 15 years old, and they hired dancers. There'd be girls taking our clothes off at the parties. I mean, this is hardcore shit. So I'm in my little bedroom, and these girls would come in. Oh, buddy. They would see this little boy sitting in there, and they'd start pulling up their skirts and things and looking at me, and they were laughing, and I'm going, holy shit.
Eyes falling out your head.
Holy shit. And them girls were enjoying the shit out of it.
Messing with a kid. Oh, my goodness.
Anyway.
It was a different time back then.
Anyway, that's how I was raised up. Yeah. Okay, that's where we're starting. Okay.
Wow. So when did you get your first drum set? Who got it for you?
Well, yeah, when I was 63, so that was pre-Beatles, Ed Sullivan. It was before that. I begged my mom, Dad, and Mom, can I please get a drum, please? Because since I was born, I wanted to. So at the age of 8, they rented one and gave it to me for Christmas. One snare drum. Yeah, it was a Ludwig Acrolite. I remember that drum. Anyway, they thought, he'll play it for a week and then we'll take it back to the store because, they were just renting it. Oh, no. Oh, no. I wore the shit out of it. It ain't going nowhere. So they had to buy it. And I wanted a drum set, So we didn't have no money. We didn't have money for that. I'm thinking, okay, shit, I got to think of a way. So I started mowing grass, and that was one way to make some money, and saved up for 2 summers and got my little $15 together and went to the pawn shop and there was a blue sparkle set of Kent drums. which American made. Okay, these were drums that two guys that worked at the Gretsch factory. With Gretsch is like the Cadillac of drums. Two guys that worked at Gretsch said, "You know what? We need to make a lower line for the kids and things. We don't because the Cadillac style they're too expensive. Only the pros can afford these." And the Papa Gretsch said, "No, we're not doing that." So these two guys split. And they says, "Okay, we'll just make our own drums." And they did. And it was called Kent. It was two brothers, and their last name was Kent. And they were onto something. This was pre-Pearl, Yama, Tomahawk, all that crap that comes from China now. Mm-hmm. They were ahead of the game. They were doing it here in the States. It was a low line, kids could afford. And they were starting to make drums. And, they were good. They weren't like cheap. They were just not quite top quality as the good stuff. But anyway, they were on it. They were on the path to be, ahead of the curve of the Japanese and the Chinese and everybody. And they were killed in a car accident, both brothers at one time. And that put an end to that company. And then, little Japanese Pearls and Yamahas and Tamas show up and they took over. So Kent could have done it if them two boys didn't die. Yeah.
You got a set of those drums? You got those Kents?
No, I sold them. I'll tell you why. The band I was in was really getting popular. It's called Lazy River. And we were knocking down serious bucks. I mean, I was making more than my junior high teachers were making. I mean, we were killing it. Our parents would drive us to the gigs, and we would play at every school, every sock hop, and they would pay us really well. And I thought, I can afford a killer kit. So I did. I went down to the big city and bought a pre-CBS Blue Onyx Rogers double bass. And that is considered the very best kit you can buy made in America in that era. Because CBS bought Rogers in 1967 and they went to California and the quality went down. But the set I got were made in Covington, Ohio by master craftsmen. And it is still considered they call it the pinnacle of American drum manufacturing during the golden era of American drum manufacturing. So it is. It was like the top of the heap. I couldn't buy a better. It's like a Rolls Royce. Perfect. Wow. Yeah.
You still got that set?
I played them for 40, 30 years. Nothing else. Why? They worked perfect. They never broke down. We were traveling across Wyoming, and it's flat as far as you can see, right? We were out in the high desert, they call it. And there's this, not even lights. I mean, it's just flat. And you were looking around going, this is a nowhereville. We're going down the highway in a van with a trailer, and a semi come up from behind and rear-ended us. He was like doing 90 maybe, and maybe sleeping at the same time. And totaled out all equipment, my drums included. So we sort out the mess, and we go into town, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, shit. So the insurance company says, well, we got to pay you guys. How much you want? Well, $120,000. Okay, here's the check. So we took that money, and I said, oh, wait a minute. Where are my drums right now? They're at that storage facility down the road. I said, okay, let me go down there. I go down there. There's my drums. Now, the cases were trashed. And I looked inside. I go, wait a minute. The drums inside look okay. Dude, will you sell me these drums? Oh, yeah, $200. Okay. I bought them back. $200. They were fine. The cases were destroyed, but the drums inside didn't have a scratch. Wow. So I took them back to Nashville, played them for another 20 years or longer, and finally, I have a child. I've got a baby on the way. And I'm thinking, you know what? We don't have a lot of money. I'm going to sell this kit just because, I got a baby now. I didn't have that before. I got to take care of it. I did. I said, and this is worth it. This drum set ain't worth that baby. It's gone. So I sold it for about 10 times what I paid for it,
Plus, you'd already collected the insurance money. You know who Jason Isbell is?
Yeah.
So there's a line in one of his songs that just reminded me of what you just said. He said, I used to go out in a Mustang, 62 Mach 1 in green or whatever, till me and your mama made you in the back, and I sold it to buy her a ring. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, same story.
Same
Basically.
kind of thing, you know. Yeah. You sold your drums to pay for the baby, you know. I don't know. Seemed like a cool turn of phrase.
Yeah.
302 Mustang. I know they didn't make Mustangs in 62.
Yeah.
A 302 Mustang in green.
Okay.
For anybody out there who's a Jason Isbell fan, sorry for that.
Yeah.
Wow. So if you could go back and play with somebody, like we've talked before about concerts I wish I'd have been to, people I wish I'd have seen before they died. Prince. It bothers me that I never saw Prince. It bothers me that I never saw Tom Petty. Those two probably. If I could go back and see somebody I never saw, those two are high on the list. So if there's somebody you could play with that you no longer could because they're gone, a missed opportunity, who would that be?
Probably Fluky. Was my bass player. And bass and drums are, that's the foundation. And a drummer has to have the right bass player to make things really, really, really work. And it has to be a whole thing. Chemistry, personality, talent level. There's a lot of factors that have to gel. You know what I'm saying? And Fluky was my bass player. He was the one in the Lazy River band that was so popular when we were growing up. We played in it from middle school all the way till everybody went off to college. And so that formative years, we were together the whole time. And he later went on after that to join some really, really, really good bands. And I moved to Nashville and played with a lot of great bass players, including Willie Weeks. He plays with Clapton. I mean, I played Duck Dunn from the Blues Brothers, played with him. I mean, I played with some great bass players, but Fluky was my guy. He was, we had a thing, so if I could pick one that's not with me no more, I'd have to pick Fluky, even though it's a personal choice. Like I said, I played with some greats, legendary bass players, but Fluky was my guy. That's the one I'd pick.
If you could go back again now and change your life, would you still have been a musician?
Yeah. The highs are super high, the lows are low. So it's a rich life, I think of the guy that works in an office straight out of college and he's still there. Ooh, that hurts my heart because, now he may be happy, but dude,
And if he's happy, that's cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But if he's Jimi Hendrix that is just trying to, follow a path that somebody else set out for him, that's pretty sad.
Yeah. That's the other thing, though. Being a professional musician all my life, it wasn't easy. People, like I just said, the highs were really high. I mean, some things, it's just so spectacular. And then there's that other side, There's that other side. You ain't got nothing to eat, and there's no gig, and, shit, what do I do? But, so I don't recommend it for the faint of heart. You got to really be committed. But the whole old story is, love what you do and do what you love. I love music.
Have you seen that famous picture of the guy that filled in for Ringo Starr on 10 dates or something? I guess he broke his arm or something happened anywhere where he couldn't play.
Yeah.
And so another drummer filled in on the Beatles tour. And then Ringo comes back and this guy's, he's sitting in an airport waiting for, he's the only one in the airport, just all by himself. Like, last night you played in front of a million.
Yeah.
There's a band that my wife and I know of and heard of anyway called Kings of Spade. Shout out Kings of Spade. But they're from Hawaii and they play rock and roll, heavy metal music. They're great. And we saw them down in Birmingham one time and we were the only people that saw them at the club. We were the only people that came down there. There were a couple of bar flies or hangers on or whatever, but we came to hear the music. We were the only ones. They booked a date, and me and her. So it was kind of like a private concert. It was cool to us. The very next month, they opened for Guns N' Roses in Honolulu or whatever to 100,000 people or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine? They played for us. There's two little old people that drove down from Huntsville. Had we not driven down, it would have been an empty house that night. And a month later, they opened for Guns N' Roses.
See, that's a perfect example. Both of them were, the high was super freaking high,
Sure.
and that low, how low can you go playing for two people, even though, how'd they do playing for two people?
Oh, they kicked it.
like
Yeah.
like the flight, like
No,
the
they put their
million
foot in it.
people.
They put their foot in it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
see?
no, absolutely. They interacted with us. I mean, obviously between songs, but when they played a song, no,
Yeah.
they weren't messing around. It
Okay.
wasn't. They didn't stop and start 17 times. Oh, girl, I can't.
Or work
remember.
on a new song.
I'd have been happy with them working on a new song. Now that would have been okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have been happy. We're the only two there, and you want to spend 10 minutes working a new song out. Yeah, we had drinks with them at the bar.
Uh-huh.
But no, they did great, which I thought was pretty impressive. Yeah,
I got a mic. I got to buy Kevin a new mic cable. This sucks.
we're working on that. We're working on it.
I had the same experience in Eureka Springs, Arkansas. My favorite band, the Cape Brothers. They're from Fayetteville, Arkansas. They're the greatest American band ever. Anyway, they played at a venue, and my brother-in-law owns the venue, and so I'm there right away, waiting for them. I help them bring their amps in and everything because I'm such a Gurmy fan because these guys are just legendary, really. And so they're setting up. They set up. I'm the only one in there. I'm just sitting there in the chair in front of them, and they're going, well, let's try this out. And they play a song, nail it. It's perfect. It's the coolest fucking song I ever heard. And they stop at the end of it, and they go, yeah, we haven't played that one in 30 years. I go, it was so good. They hadn't played it in 30 years. I'm going, these guys are so good. The Cape Brothers, I mean, awesome. That was Levon Helms' people. His nephew plays drums in that band. He walking out of his house, limb fell, killed him. Just like walked out, just about leaving the house, boom, dead. Jesus.
Wow, that's crazy.
I know it.
Life is short.
Just
Play your
random. I mean,
songs.
you just happen to be under the tree when the thing. Oh man, come on, man. So if you live in a house with a tree, you maybe look up every now and then. Is that thing looking good?
Keep your eye out.
Anyway,
Gentlemen, how long we been talking?
well, too long.
No, never too long.
Nobody wants.
Never too long. Hour 11. Pretty close. Q, hope you got something wound up to take us out with. You got two, man, because I don't have anything.
It's on the onus is on Ardie.
The onus is on
Ardie.
Take us out, Ardie. We always leave our listeners with like some words of wisdom or a life lesson or any type of advice you would give.
All right, so I'll end with a little prayer.
Okay, there it is.
Okay. God help the child who ain't got a home. And help the girl that walks the streets alone. Help the boy who won't turn 21. And help the man that gave him a gun. Amen.
Amen. There it is. Ardie Dean.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Ardie.
Thank you. But I'm going to cuss Kevin out because this mic's screwed up.
Yeah, let him.
And
the
we're
listeners
going to have
know.
to do it a third time. I know it.
No. Let the listeners know, Ardie.
I've got a box of mic cables at
boss.
home.
Sucks being the boss.
You're getting tired of my war stories, though.
We're never tired of your war stories. We're definitely going to have you back. Well, all right. Ardie, thanks again for your presence. Thanks for your time.
Go to the camp.
For your existence.
Go to the camp. Find the guy that's making wooden toys. By the way, he's a third-generation toy maker. His dad made toys. His granddad made toys. They're out of exotic woods with no artificial shit. It's not a piece of plastic. You buy it, fall apart, and go straight into the landfill. No, this is an heirloom toy. Your grandkids will hand it down to their grandkids. Go see Shane. I'm telling you. Okay? You want the best popcorn in town? Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. You want to go see Q right now. Now, you want to see Q. Here's why. Go get a bowl of Q's popcorn, all right? Get a bowl of that Orville Redenbacher crap, okay? And lay one in front of the kids and Q's next to it in front of the kids, okay? You got Q's popcorn. You got the kids' Orville Redenbacher's there. Put on a movie. Put on some Disney shit, okay? Now watch what happens, okay? You're going to see that Q bowl go empty right quick, okay? And here's Orville over there sitting, picking his butt. He got shit to do. And them kids are going, we want more of that popcorn, Daddy. Where's that? I gotta go find Q. I need another bag. Go see Q. You hear me, folks?
That's it.
Buy your popcorn from Hustle and Pop because Orville Redenbacher picks his butt. Folks, you heard it here first on Vendor Chronicles, where the truth is stranger than fiction, and we talk about the things the corporations don't want us to say. I'm going to leave it with that. This has been Vendor Chronicles.
Peace.